You know, when you think of Paris, you probably picture the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, all those grand, beautiful monuments. But what if I told you that beneath those famous streets lies a hidden history, a forgotten network that once literally controlled the pulse of the entire city? All right, let's get into this wild story of a time when Paris didn't run on electricity, but on air.
So picture this. The year is 1910 and Paris is in the middle of a catastrophe. It's the Great Flood. The River Seine has completely overflowed its banks. We're talking metro tunnels are totally underwater, buildings are getting washed away. It is just absolute chaos. But in the middle of all of that mayhem, something else, something really, really strange happens. At this exact moment, 10:50 a.m., thousands of clocks all across the city, I mean, in people's homes, in train stations, on street corners, they all just stop, dead.
So what's going on here? How is that even possible? Well, it wasn't magic, and it definitely wasn't some kind of crazy coincidence. It was the failure of a spectacular, invisible machine, an underground network of pipes that synchronized the entire city with literal bursts of compressed air. And that's the mystery we're going to unpack today.
To really get why this system was such a game changer, we gotta rewind the clock a little bit. Back to a time when the idea of everyone in a city having the exact same time just didn't exist.
I mean, just think about it. Before a system like this, every single clock was its own little island. Your clock would slowly drift, your neighbors would drift a different way, trying to run a train schedule, forget it. It was impossible. For a city like Paris that was rapidly modernizing, this just wouldn't do. It needed a single, unified heartbeat. And the solution, funnily enough, didn't come from a Parisian. Nope, it came from an Austrian engineer who had a brilliantly simple idea. Okay, so here's the key. At the time, sending electrical signals to clocks was possible, sure, but it was incredibly expensive and not super reliable. This inventor, Victor Pop, had a flash of genius. He realized that sending little pulses of compressed air could do the exact same job for way, way cheaper. The air itself would physically push the hands of every single clock forward, all at the very same instant. And boy, did his idea take off. The city of Paris loved it so much, they gave Pop a 50-year contract. He invents it in 1880, and by 1885, thousands of these clocks are ticking all across the city. This thing was so robust, it even survived that Great Flood we talked about, and it ran for almost half a century before new technology finally caught up. And check this out, this is what made it so revolutionary. It wasn't just for public squares or fancy government buildings. This was basically the world's first time-as-a-service. For what would be about 30 cents a day today, any regular Parisian could subscribe and get perfectly accurate time piped directly into their apartment. How cool is that? Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now, let's get to the really fun part. How on earth did this incredible machine actually work? So at the very heart of this whole operation was this beautiful piece of engineering, the master clock. This wasn't just any old clock. It was this super precise two-part machine hidden away in a central plant in Paris. Its one and only job, 24/7, was to send out that single citywide pulse of air every single minute. The mechanics are just, mwah, chef's kiss. It's so clever. You have one side of the clock that's basically a perfect 60-second timer. Once it hits that 60th second, click, it trips a lever. That lever releases the gears on the other side, which then spin for about 20 seconds. As they spin, they open a valve, sending that vital puff of compressed air out into the city. And here's the most ingenious part. A little bit of that same air pressure was used to lift the clock's weights back up, which basically made the whole system self-winding. So once that pulse of air left the master clock, it went on this incredible journey. It traveled as a pressure wave through hundreds of kilometers of dedicated iron pipes, running silently through the city's veins, hidden away in sewers and metro tunnels, on its way to every single subscriber. So what happened when that pulse of air finally got to your apartment? Well, the clock itself was beautifully simple. The air would inflate a small bellows inside, kind of like a tiny accordion. As it inflated, it pushed a lever, and that lever would click the minute gear forward by exactly 1 tooth. 1 minute. Then the pressure would drop, the bellows would deflate, the lever would reset, and it would just sit there, waiting for the next minute's pulse. So simple, so reliable, and purely mechanical. It was a nearly perfect system for its day, a true marvel of engineering. But, you know, as with all technology,
its time eventually came to an end. So, in a classic twist of technological irony, the very system that brought synchronized time to the industrial age was eventually made obsolete by the next big thing. By 1927, electric clocks had become more accurate and way less of a hassle to maintain. And so, the great pneumatic network was officially retired.
But you just can't deny its legacy. For almost 50 years, it gave Paris a reliable, steady heartbeat. It proved on a massive scale just how crucial synchronized time was for a modern city. And while those underground pipes are all empty now, if you know where to look, you can still find little signs around Paris of where these clocks once stood. Silent echoes of a truly amazing network. And all of this really makes you think, doesn't it? Victor Pop used the most reliable tech of his day, pipes and air, to build an invisible network that ran an entire city. So what about us? What are the invisible networks? The GPS signals, the internet data streams, the power grids that are keeping our own cities in sync right this very second. And what happens on the day they stop?